Everybody's so excited. It's Championship Sunday coming up to break that kind of news cycle. But boy, my buddy Liam Cohen did exactly that. He took a little bit of attention last week. I don't know the ins and outs yet. It sounded like a crazy, interesting process that we're for sure about. And it doesn't sound like the Bucs are very happy. I will say that, and we'll get into that more maybe next week. But I do want to ask you this, Vince, because we've had some development over this last week, right?
Yeah.
Listen, you and I, you're at home. I'm in a hotel room. We're not on a yacht. We're not anywhere else. Let's just have this conversation.
Oh, I heard your hotel room's pretty nice, though.
It is nice. You wouldn't expect anything less. We've had some changes. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a couple of them. Okay. Aaron Glenn, obviously, to the Jets. Brian Schottenheimer to the Cowboys. Ben Johnson to the Bears. Vrabel is back in New England. Pete Carroll to the Las Vegas Raiders. We don't know the Saints as of this morning while we're doing this podcast, but if you had to look at that group and you had to say, hey, you know what, there's one of these that interests me, either from an excitement standpoint, or you're really interested to see how it kind of plays out, which one of those situations sticks out to you?
I have two that really stick out to me. One is Vrabel going back to New England because he could have had any job he wanted. And so exciting for me and you both knowing Vrabel like we do, and the passion that he played with and the passion that he coaches with. I'm really excited that that's where he wants to be, and he got a chance to do that. Now it'll be interesting, bringing back Josh McDaniels. This is just New England 2.0 now? This is what we're doing. Like, what are going to be some of the new wrinkles and changes? And but I love Vrabel as a coach. When I was in Houston, he was a linebacker coach there, but just the respect that he has instantly when he walks in a room because of what he did as a player, because of what he expects out of you when he's your coach and you're a player, but what he gives you as well, what he puts into a team, the time, energy, all of that. He's, the Dan Campbell type category of guys that really care about their players, but he's also going to tell you exactly how it is. He really is. So I'm excited that he got to go into the spot he wanted to be, which is returning home in New England. Yeah, and then the other one, dude, Sherm convinced me of this one as we were kind of going through and the name got thrown into the Chicago deal, was Pete Carroll.
Yep.
Because we just talked about Dan Quinn, but you want to talk about a culture setter, and they just need a reset. They need a reset in Las Vegas of what are we, who are we going to be as a team, and what are we all about? And Pete Carroll does that. He's going to come in right away. Again, instant respect, a guy that loves his players, but demands a lot out of them, and a guy that knows how to set culture. Really happy to see him get that opportunity because they need it. It's been tough sledding there the last few years, and he's going to come in and provide a great perspective for all those guys and get them headed in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think even though the Chiefs represent a lot of them, you look at like 5 of the last 6 Super Bowl champions. I mean, if you take Sean McVay out of the equation, they weren't young cats, right? You're talking about Bruce Arians, Bill Belichick, and then Andy Reid 3 times, right? So it's not like you can say, oh, just because a guy's an older coach, he has no chance. Pete Carroll has proven that he's a winner every year. Seattle was competitive. Obviously, they had some dominant times there when Dan Quinn and others were with him. But it'll be interesting to watch that one. I think for me, when I look at all of these, I obviously it was my first thought was I like the Vrabel to Patriots is maybe my pick for who's going to have the biggest turnaround immediately, only because of the coach. I think of Vrabel being, not just from, like you said, the Dan Campbell thing, but also cerebrally. This dude is sharp, man. He knows his stuff. He knows his rules. He knows how to put people in situations. He's a lot of fun when it comes to those conversations, and he is great at challenging people. And so I'm interested to see the turnaround there, but I think even in all those things, I lead to the favorite in Ben Johnson, the biggest name probably in this hiring cycle. Some would argue the Patriots job was just as a unique opportunity because of Drake May and how good he looks. But man, Ben Johnson has proven he's really special with this Lions team. They have some special talent, but he did a special job with them. His history in coaching, I love. I read, up on him this past week while I was traveling. I love how he's come up and where he's come from to get to where he's at, and how just honestly curious he has been, listening to old coaches, whether it be Mike Martz and other guys, just, talk about really the impact wow, they were impressed at the questions this guy asked as a young coach and how much he actually knew and was thirsty to learn at every move. And so I'm excited to see him get his chance, and let's see what it looks like. Now, I wouldn't advise the call out of Matt LaFleur
Right
in your
away.
first press conference.
When I found out they weren't buddies, I was like, what
don't
are
know
we
each other at all?
doing?
Zero.
Like what? So two things. The Lions obviously lost both their guys. So Ben Johnson leaving, like watching those interviews and stuff. Coordinators don't always translate to great head coaches. And I'm curious. I want to see how I know he can command a room with an offense and whatever else, but the whole team is a whole different animal. So I'm interested with that. But then Aaron Glenn, I think, is a really cool story. A guy that was a really great player with the Jets. And I just don't know him that well. I don't know his style, but I've heard, obviously, former player like we just talked about with Vrabel, like we've talked about in the past with Dan Campbell, a guy that's going to walk into a room and command respect. And, he probably fits more with Dan Campbell than Ben Johnson does. I would say I'm going out on a limb there, but really cool for a guy to go into an organization that he played for, that he was a great player for, and to understand the history and the culture and intimately understand that fan base. That's going to go a long way. Now, what they do from here on out, is he meeting with Aaron Rodgers? What are they going to do on the offensive side of the ball? That stuff's going to be interesting. But for a defensive guy that has a lot of the defensive pieces in place, I'm excited to see what he does as well.
Yeah, I think Aaron Glenn and Vrabel are probably the two that I'm the most excited to watch play out. I think, I obviously think Ben Johnson's going to have some impact because one of the things I think he did well is hiring Dennis Allen to be his defensive coordinator, a guy who's been a head coach. Yeah. He's been there and failed. He's been in those situations in two different organizations. He's going to have a little bit of a feel of everything that's going to help him because I think that's a crucial thing. I look at Sean McVay when he got the job and got Wade Phillips, and what an instrumental part he thought that was to honestly the first part of his career was just having somebody like that he could walk across the hall and say, hey, man, how did you handle these situations and have those kind of conversations? So I think that's going to be cool to watch. I mean, Liam Cohen to the Jags, I couldn't be more excited for Liam. I just think that's how it started. Obviously, it's an interesting situation.
It'll be in the past.
That's going to be a challenge.
It'll be water under the bridge soon enough. But like you said, you're talking about going places and having quarterbacks in place. Like he's got a chance to resurrect Trevor's career, right?
And he just did it with, he just did a great job with Baker. So it'll be interesting. I just think it's going to be a challenge to get that place to change. Obviously, with the way that whole thing went down with Trent Baalke getting fired out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden you're back in it, and then now they got to figure out the GM situation and think about how close we are to the draft. Like there's a lot there. So I don't know if in the first year we're going to see it, but maybe we'll see.
And if he was at the doctor's office, though, maybe there has to be a doctor in Jacksonville's building somewhere. So technically he wasn't lying. He was at the doctor's office. I don't know. But what's the job? The Saints is still open. Is there another one still open or no?
Yeah, Saints is it. Saints.
So I would just lobby to New Orleans. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, come on, guys. Please. Can we get Spags out of Kansas City? I mean, he's done such a great job there. But I think everybody in the AFC would be happy. Get him out.
You know who I blame for this? This is Sean McVay's fault. Sean McVay has a success, this young guy, OC, comes in, and now all these damn teams go after the young cats, whether it's defense, offense, they all want to go young. I mean, I think it's 6 guys now or 5 guys that are head coaches that have come from Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. It's insane, but I think it's that. And now here we are. I love that Pete Carroll gets a job, but I think for everybody in the NFL, if they three-peat, it's awesome. We're happy for the Chiefs. Can we get Spags out of there to make it fair for everybody else?
Let's make Spags the commissioner of the NFL.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's do give him Spags a really good job. Offer you can't refuse. Everybody in the NFL would be excited because he is such a great defensive coordinator.